Do you only make cakes occasionally, but you want to make sure that each time looks fabulous? Then this video is for you. Today I'm sharing my occasional baker's cake design checklist, and we're going to go through all of the points that you need to consider to make sure that your cake is on point every time. Make sure you stay to the end where I tell you where you can pick up this really useful resource. Now let's get into it. There are 10 things that we're going to touch on really quickly in this video, and they are all important parts in making sure that your next cake is absolutely fabulous. The first thing that you want to consider is the occasion. Think to yourself, what are you celebrating? Also, how are you celebrating? Knowing the answers to these questions are definitely going to help you put some meaning into the cake that you're making. The next thing to consider is the theme. Does your occasion have a specific theme that stands alone from the occasion? For example, if it is a birthday party and the theme is Sesame Street, those are how those two things are differentiated, the occasion versus the theme. So you definitely want to make sure that your decorations and how you're designing your cake really speaks to the theme if there is one. So don't leave that part out. Another example would be, if you're making a cake for a bridal shower. The bridal shower is the occasion and the theme may be like a 90s style theme. Again, there are some differences, but the theme is meant to bring extra inspiration to your cake design. The next thing that you'll want to consider in your cake design are the colors. Again, this can go along with the occasion and the theme, or it could be something completely different and special. If the cake that you're making isn't specifically tied to a theme, here are some ideas that'll get you started in terms of thinking about how you can use color. One idea would be to use the celebrant's favorite color. So if you're making a cake for your mom and her favorite color is pink, you want to try to incorporate that color somewhere onto the cake. Seasonal colors also seem to work very well. So if you're making a cake for a spring occasion, obviously using pastels is a great idea. If you're doing something more summertime, maybe brights fit in best. If you're doing something in the fall, maybe some deeper jewel tone colors or rusty colors, leaves, inspiration from the seasons would definitely help. You can never go wrong with white or off-white. Again, those are neutral colors that are pretty foolproof. So remember, white is a color too, so if all else fails, there you go. The next thing you want to consider is the size and the shape of your cake. The size of the cake will really be determined by the number of people who are going to actually be eating cake. So to figure that out, you really have to know how many people will be in attendance and then also how many people would actually be eating cake. The smaller that number is, the smaller your cake should be. The last thing you want to do is have a ton of extra cake left over that could potentially go to waste. You'll also want to consider the shape of your cake. Typically cakes are round, but they can also be square, they can be rectangular. You can make a heart-shaped cake. A cake can be shaped in any way. If you're trying to play it safe, you're going to be typically baking an 8-inch round or 9-inch round cake. Cake can also be 8-inch square or 9-inch square as well. This size of cake typically yields about 15 to 25 servings, and the servings really depends on how you cut the cake. So be mindful of that as well. The next thing that you'll want to consider is the message or inscription you're going to add to your cake. In terms of adding a message to your cake, think about where on the cake will it go. Will the message be on the top of the cake? Will it be on the side of the cake? If the message is on the side of the cake, just be sure that you have enough height on the side of your cake to fully spell out your message. Another alternative and something that I like to do quite a bit is to put the message for the cake actually on the cake board. The message for your cake can be as simple as happy birthday or good luck or best wishes, or you can spell out or write out anything that you want for the cake that works for the occasion and the theme. So again, you're keeping those two early things that I mentioned in mind. A message on a cake can be written with frosting or icing. It could be punched out in fondant. You can use sprinkles to create the message as well. So there are a variety of things that you can do to get your message across. If you're learning something from this video, be sure to hit the like button below and consider subscribing to my channel for more cake decorating tips, tricks, and tutorials. Now let's get back to it. The next thing you want to consider is the cake flavor. Some of the more popular cake flavors are vanilla, chocolate, lemon cake is also very, very popular. There are some other flavors that are a little bit more unique that are popular as well, such as carrot cake and red velvet cake. White cake, yellow cake, spice cake, let's just cake it out. Super important, always make sure that you go into baking your cake knowing what flavor you're gonna do. It's really your personal preference if you're gonna use a box mix for your cake or if you're gonna make the cake from scratch. No matter what you choose, do what works best for you and what's worked for you in the past. And if you're looking for tips on how to transition from using box mix to baking more from scratch, check out the video that I have linked in the description. I think you'll find it very helpful. Next, you want to consider the icing flavor. Again, this can vary as greatly as your cake flavor. And I bet you can't guess what the most popular frosting flavor is. Or you may be able to guess it. It is vanilla. Vanilla, vanilla, vanilla is the most popular icing and frosting flavor. No surprises there. You want to consider your icing flavor and also your icing type. Think about whether you want to use buttercream, which has more of a rich, sweet flavoring to it and texture, or if you want to use a whipped icing instead, which has more of an airy feel, a subtle sweetness to it. You can also choose a ganache, whether that's chocolate ganache, dark chocolate, milk chocolate, white chocolate. Swiss meringue buttercream as well is a really great kind of icing or frosting for your cake. So there are a lot of options out there and things for you to consider. Most important is you want to make sure that your icing flavor pairs very well with your cake flavor. So try to consider how those two work together. Next, let's talk about fillings. And by fillings, I mean, what are you putting between your cake layers? You could do something as simple as just using the same icing or frosting you use to frost your cake with as your filling between your layers. Or you can get fancy and try some fun fillings such as fruits, preserves, pudding, candy. The sky is the limit. But it's another thing for you to consider when you are designing your cake. Next, you want to think about add-ons. And by add-ons, we're talking cake toppers, any kind of accessories that you want to add onto your cake that really goes with the occasion, goes with the theme, and helps to tell the story. Are you using any edible printed images on your cake, whether that be on the top or the sides? And if you don't have an edible printer, don't worry. You can typically go to your grocery store or bakery and have edible images printed for you to use on your cake. If you're strongly considering add-ons and you're running low on time, just take a trip over to your local hobby store and they'll most likely have some kind of add-ons that you can use that go along with your theme and occasion. Next, you want to think about the presentation of your cake. How will you display your cake? Will it be placed on a plate? Will it be on a cake stand? How is it going to be presented? Or is the cake a surprise, meaning that it goes into a box and it is unboxed and presented at the right time? All of these things are important to keep in mind when you are designing your cake. My special cake design checklist is available by clicking the link in the description below. So it's a free resource that you can use to make your next cake fabulous. Once your cake is all done and it's ready to get to its final destination, there are a few things that you don't want to do in between the time you finish it to the time that it gets delivered. And I share all of those tricks and tips with you in this video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with any of your friends who also enjoy baking. Subscribe to my channel where I share more cake decorating tips, tricks, and tutorials. And as always, thanks for watching.